Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And when you go to apply and they ask you, how did you hear about Podgo? Make sure you tell them that the Vault Classic Music Review sent you.
Welcome to the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. Now, here's your hosts, B. Cox and the crew.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Vault Podcast, Classic Music Reviews, presented by IV Creative. It's a perspective of the classics from a fresh point of view. We appreciate you for taking your time and lending your ears to our perspective. You could be anywhere listening to anything, but you're right here with us. So we thank you. With you today is yours truly, B. Cox, and with me I have the crew. First off, I got the creator and host of the Raw Sex Podcast, Cousin Damo, aka Dominique Marks, here in the place to be. Make sure y'all are checking out the Raw Sex Podcast each and every Friday. Got a new episode coming up. My man is ripping and rolling and got things going. So make sure you're subscribing, following him on Instagram, following him on Twitter. He's a great follow. You know, follow his personal accounts and also follow the show page. So make sure y'all do that. And of course, my man J.O. always here in the place to be. Want to give a shout out to everybody stateside and worldwide for all of the support you've been giving the show, getting new great numbers out of our host on Red Circle, and of course all the subscribers on YouTube. Continue to subscribe to the YouTube page and check it out. Got a lot of great content coming up this year. As we always say here on the Vault, hashtag open the vault, hashtag nothing but the classics. And today, fellas, we're going to take a trip back 20 years ago to a little bit of a simpler time, as you would say. This really is, I think, a soundtrack to those simpler times. Now, of course, what I'm talking about is, along with taking the trip back 20 years ago, we're also going to take a trip back north side of Memphis. The second studio album from Hypnotize Minds Camp Posse member, Project Pat, Mista Don't Play, and Everythang's Workin. Released February 27, 2001 on Loud and Hypnotize Minds Records with distribution via Red. Recording took place at the Hypnotize Minds studio in Memphis. Production all handled by DJ Paul and Juicy J. Runtime of 73 minutes and 45 seconds. Executive producers also DJ Paul and Juicy J. This was the second studio album from Project Pat. His first one was, of course, Getty Green in 1999. The singles, official singles from Mista Don't Play, were Chicken Head and Life We Live. But a lot of other songs that weren't necessarily singles that were definitely smash hits, especially from those who were 3-6 fans and people who were into the album. So guys, 2001, this was 20 years ago, and 3-6, Hypnotize Minds all came onto the scene back in the mid-90s, but we didn't really know much about 3-6 until I would say about 98. And the reason being is because Tear the Club Up, which was a huge hit nationwide, a big hit in the South, and us being from D.C. became the main hook from the 98 Dope Jam from Backyard Band, which is something that we remember from this time going back 20 years ago, something that would always get the party started, Jay, as you remember when we were at Mourning, if they would play that joint. The very few times when they did, but it would always be trouble because I remember when I would be in the go-go when they would play Tear the Club Up with 98 Dope Jam, and it would be crazy. A lot of things from this album, being from where we're from, bring back a lot of memories. And the reason being is because a lot of hooks that you hear, not just from 3-6, but even on this Project Pat album, were hooks that we heard in the go-go plenty of times. I know I heard at least probably 5 or 6 different hooks that I heard at different times that go-go bands used during this time period. And we're from DC. A lot of folks from DC love down south music. They love the No Limit, loved Cash Money, loved anything with Scarface and Ghetto Boys, a lot of West Coast stuff. I mean, so that was big around us. So the Go-Go Band sort of adapted to use a lot of these things for the hooks because the music really blended kind of well. So I wanted to take a little minute, Jay and Damo, to go through an article that I found in my research this past week. And it was actually done on a website called stillcrew.com. The writer is a writer named Greg Witt. He's actually a blogger, a writer, also has a social media following. He was originally from D.C. and went to school in South Carolina, decided to write about his experience in the spring of 2001. Now, he was back home in the D.C. area working in Capitol Hill for a senator's committee office, the only black kid there. He had a pre-furnished apartment on Connecticut Avenue about 15 minutes away from where he went from high school. And then what he was saying is that his grandfather was dying that spring. And later on that year, his grandfather died. He goes into this path how this album played a part in his summer. He said, after the funeral, it was me, my homies, and a half-gallon of Belvedere vodka. Another throwback. There were stories and even occasional laughter, but mostly emptiness for me. The man who was there when my father was gone forever, and I had no idea what to do. It was at that moment, after drowning in another cup of vodka with a paper cuts amount of sanguine cranberry juice, that I decided to do nothing. I said, fuck it. There's not such freedom in fuck it. What could be sweeter than total disregard for consequences and the purest enjoyment of the moment? Sleepwalked through the rest of my internship on the Hill, and in the summer of 2001, a year before my 21st birthday, I decided to live my version of fuck it, somewhere between drinking milk straight from the carton and Suicide Bomber on the continuum. Every day, one album was always a part of the soundtrack. Project Pat's Mista Don't play. So high, blasting out of a forest green Chevy Tahoe at Anacostia Park. Chicken Head, pre-gaming on the side street. Don't Save Her, cat calling women and circling downtown for parking near DC Live on Sunday night. Gorilla Pimp, around my way, watching cars in times past. My disinterested slouch transforming from military alertness when a familiar vehicle went by too slowly. Whole lot of weed in a hot boxed car. The bass piercing through eye-reddening smoke through lasers at a hair band's concert. No, I didn't execute a series of robberies or have a shootout with the cops, but I did drink a lot, even by a 20-year-old standard. And I started smoking weed again for the first time since a terrifying experience ended my pothead career before I finished junior high. I also didn't work for the first time since 14 when I waited in a mile-long line to enter 500 C Street and sign up for the Marion Barry summer work programs. You know what they say about idle hands. I didn't care. So lots of stuff to unpack there. Things that I think we can all relate to. Yep. And so a lot of people, we knew a lot of these folks, man, because a lot of them were us and they were people that we hung out with. That soundtrack of this Project Pat-Mista Don't play definitely was a soundtrack heading into that summer. It was something that I heard a lot in the dorms when I was at Morgan. Damo can tell you, this wasn't something I would have listened to when I was in high school. And this is just 2 years before. I used to hate music like this when I was in high school. Damo can tell you we were rap snobs.
Yes, we was what were they, them backpack rappers.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhat. Well, you ain't no lyrics.
Right.
You ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
What's the message?
Yeah, exactly.
Then listen to that shit.
Yeah, listen to that shit. So we're just going to go on that vein, man. We're going to go back, and we're going to go back and talk about Mista Don't play, man. 20 years ago, you know, what you thought, what you think, man. So I'll start with you, of course, Damo, because as we said, we were rap snobs, and we weren't that far removed from being at the lunch table and giving thumbs up and thumbs down. So
well, you was removed. I was still there. So I can tell you that I did not listen to this album at all in 01.
Yeah.
It was, I was like, you know, you hear a couple of jumps like, I ain't listening to that shit.
Right.
Maybe because I looked at it, we ain't listening to that shit. So I ain't listening to that shit. You ain't about to get me. One of my boys was like, come on, you gotta listen to this. I was like, I ain't listening to that shit. And I'm sorry, guys, you know, I really wasn't big on go-go. So
right.
Like a lot of y'all used to walk around the halls blasting go-go in your ear. I couldn't, in your cars, I couldn't tell y'all how y'all did it for real. Like it's fine at the club dancing on a youngin'. But after that, I need my R&B and my hip hop.
Right. I hear you.
But 01, you know, I didn't listen to it at all, for real. You know, you hit a couple of Jones on the radio, but even when them Jones came on, I was like, all right, let me turn to a different station. Let's see what else they playing. Because for real, I mean, even the radio was somewhat still at that time East Coast bias. So you'll get a couple of Southern Jones. I guess Bama's requested a Jones heavy, they'll throw it in there just a little bit. But you really wouldn't hear them like that. You mainly hear, you know, East Coast and West Coast for real.
Yeah.
And that's it. It really wasn't until 02 I went to the Navy. 03 I was in Florida. I had a buddy that was from North Memphis. And that is how I got introduced really to a whole Rack of South music with him and one of my other buddies that was from Florida. So next thing you know, he got him. He playing everything from North Memphis. He playing, and then that's how I got introduced to Yo Gotti. I liked it. Yo Gotti. He had some jump. If I fuck your bitch, I'm gonna tell you about it. That was my jump, and that's how I was living in 03.
Full disclosure.
Right.
Thanks, Yo Gotti. That was my anthem.
Oh man.
But that's when he started. I was like, damn. I said, oh, this project is all right. I said, first thing I came to my mind was like, dang, I want my buddies to know about this.
Right. Right, exactly.
Hey, put that Yo Gotti on.
Right.
Put that 3-6 on. Put that Frazier Boy joint on.
Yeah.
Like if they saw me now, I'll probably get a thumbs down.
Right. Damn. True. So, Jay, what about you, man? What did you think when it first came out around that time? And what do you think, if anything, does changed for you in these 20 years?
Oh man, definitely took me back down memory lane. Like, you know, like you saying, we was at Morgan by the time this strain came out, and just like y'all, I mean, you know what I'm saying, I already knew like 360. You ain't gonna get no like, you know, thought provoking in depth lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of at that point in life, I kind of had a revelation, like, you know, it's gonna be a time for like backpack music. It's gonna be a time for like ratchet music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was able to make that distinction. So
yeah,
I already knew what it was like going into it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't look for no like lyrical linguistics and everything like that. Like I would expect off, like, you know what I'm saying, something from like Raucous Records or like, you know, like a Most Def, Black Star, like, or who else banging heavy back then, like, you know, so like a Corrupt or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Just doing what I was getting into, like dealing with Project Pat or anything from like, you know what I'm saying, 360 Hypnotize Minds. Like, I know I was gonna get some banging ass beats.
Yeah.
You know, because them joints, like, you know, if you remember like in the dorms and stuff like that, them joints just like, we had them big recently modified ghetto blasts, at least that was like for like the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. So like, like, you know what I'm saying? Some joints, like them bass lines, them joints, when they hit,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
buddy, my goodness.
Yeah, so like then along with that, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to say like even into like the summer of 01, like, you know what I'm saying? Because we was at Morgan, so that was ball, but back home, came back home to DC, like, then was riding around like my peoples and everything like that and bumping like 3-6 and, you know what I'm saying, may have had like some herbal libation, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, we're riding around and stuff like that, but it just kind of like cites the mood. So
yes,
I mean, yes,
yes, it did. Yes,
like,
sir.
Yeah.
And a couple of drinks and stuff like that too. I mean, I can name some spots we hit up, but I ain't gonna do that. No, probably statute of limitations and stuff like that. But,
right, and I got you, no doubt.
Yeah, man, like, you know, so it just like, and even back then, that's when I really started paying more attention, like, to production and, like, you know what I'm saying, like, the sounds that, like I'm saying, like, DJ Paul, Juicy J would use, and just those bass lines and everything like that, especially, like, you know what I'm saying, if you ain't from my hood, like, that joint, that beat is just, like, it's just high rank, I can't even say where, but, like, just, it just does something for me, like, it's just that banging, but, like, yeah, it's like, I mean, it just pretty much takes me back, like, you know, college years and just, because it was 01, so yeah, I just turned 20, so like, you know what I'm saying, it just takes me back to that time, like, you know, and plus, like, that was around the time, I don't know if you really consider that, like, early trap or, like, part of the crunk era, because that was, like, around the time, like, you know what I'm saying, Lil Jon was popping and everything like that, like, that's kind of what you can consider, like, you know what I'm saying, I guess now, like, the old South, which I prefer better over the new South, where everything is just trap, sorry to anybody that's, like, born in 95 or beyond that, but,
right.
So I just feel like the beats just, like, you know what I'm saying, hit harder back then, it was just better back then. So
yeah,
that's pretty much my take on it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can really consider that to be crunk, because that was like sort of what they were doing was different from what Lil Jon and East Side Boys and Yin Yang Twins and Young Bloods and all them. It was different because it wasn't really crunk music. It was just a sound that was different. Like, you knew when you heard that 3-6 Pat Hypnotize Mind beats, them bass lines that used to just go through walls and shake grounds, you know what I'm saying, that you would hear. I know exactly what you're talking about, Jay.
Straight up start a fight.
Yeah, nigga, yes.
Straight up
start a fight. So
that motherfucker could start a fight today.
Exactly.
Especially you get us in our age group and we in the club.
Yeah.
And that no jokes come on.
Yeah.
So niggas just change the whole mentality.
Whole mentality change.
Niggas fighting.
Niggas will fuck somebody up. Exactly. Niggas gonna fight. So the thing is with this, going back to Damo's thing, I didn't listen to this shit in high school. I thought like any South rap that wasn't Outkast or Scarface, or I thought a majority of it sucked. I mean, not all of it, but I thought a majority of it sucked. I didn't listen to shit like this. Like, we thought
it was gimmicky.
Yeah, we thought it was gimmicky. Like, we would sit there and we would say, like, yo, if they got them little Photoshop, you know, album covers, then the shit probably sucked. That was our mentality back then.
The pen and pixel joints.
Yeah, exactly. But
they made a grip back then too, like between like No Limit, Suave House.
Yeah.
I must say
Cash Money.
Like,
Cash Money. Yeah, all of them. Yeah. And then I got to Mourning. And then I was around a lot of different people. And I was around from different people around our area. And everybody was into this some type of shit. If it wasn't Scarface or Ghetto Boys or No Limit or Cash Money, it was a G to a Key or some shit like that, or Memphis shit, like this Hypnotize Camp, 3-6, Project Pat shit. And I got to school and started hanging around different people. Then, of course, you start partying, you start drinking, and you start smoking. And then it all made sense to me. Like you said, Jay, I started to compartmentalize rap and saying, like, look, there's a time for Mos Def and Kweli, a time for Nas, Biggie, and Jay, and there's a time for Cash Money and 3-6 and Pat. I started like, yo, this is for specific purposes. And once I started to break it down in that realm, everything about this music made sense to me, especially with Project Pat. Like, I love 3-6 once I finally got into the music and started digging into their catalogs. But Pat, to me, was just a little bit different than everybody else in Hypnotize Minds. It was always something different about him. You know, when I would hear him spit, all the stuff that you would hear in his songs, his flow was different. He had a very unique flow, has a very unique flow, and his voice was about as
storyteller.
Yeah, and he's a great, and that's the thing about this album, is that the stories that are told in this album, it's like I never really even sat back and thought about it. Like, yo, when you think with a sober and clear mind and you start listening to this again, it's like, damn, this nigga was spitting some stories out of this joint, like weaving some tales of some street shit. Like, you know, it's weed smoking, it's hustler stuff, it's strip club stuff, it's talking about hoe ass niggas and hoe ass hoes and, you know, robberies and street tales and ghetto shit and beefs. Now, the 19-year-old me might have thought, there's no value in music like this. But ironically enough, the 30 plus, almost 40-year-old me looks at this and said, you know what? There was a purpose for this. It was drinking, smoking, partying, working out. And if you really about to get into a fight with some nigga, this is some shit that you wanted to get your ass fired up. That's what I loved about it. Like you said, Jay, the old South music is something that I look at, and 20 years ago I wouldn't listen to. Now it's like, damn, I miss them days. Like listening to this album, this Pat, like listening to this shit now, I'm like, yo, where did this South music go? Like, where did this from Memphis and from New Orleans and from Atlanta? Where did this type of like rap music in the South that gave identities? This shit we talked about, Jay, with regionalism, right? This sound was authentically Memphis. DJ Paul and Juicy J and these beats were ridiculous, and it wasn't like it was simple beats either. These are complex, like melodies and samples and vocal chants being like put into, like, yo, crazy. Absolutely crazy. And the fact that I smoked made it even better to me, because like you said, this music always cites the high. It always cites the high. It always, you listen to this music when you would smoke, and right after you were done smoking, it'd be the best music in the world. But listening to it in a sober mind, it's also like, damn, this shit, yeah, dog. Like, so something that it took a while for me to come around to. When I finally did, I definitely was a fan. And reading that article just brings me back to that summer. You know, the whole thing he talked about, blasting so high out of a green Chevy Tahoe and driving around D.C. looking for a parking lot. Listening to Gorilla Pimp, watching cars go by and everything. And then the whole thing about, you know, hotboxed car, smoke out joint, like the car smoked out, pull down the windows and think it's on fire. Like, I mean, crazy times, man. So now we're going to get into highlights. So, you know, we're going to go through, let us know some of the things that you liked, if any lowlights, if you have them. So, Jay, what are your highlights, man?
Your highlights, I mean, like I said before, like, if you ain't from my hood, just like the way, just like his flow, the way that beat went. I like that switch up on the second verse, how you made that beat change and that sample they used. I just thought that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I just brought it back, you know what I'm saying, for DJ Paul, Juicy J to spit their lyrics.
Yeah, man.
Always a favorite from me, like, you know what I'm saying. Matter of fact, it was the artist named Duke Deuce. I don't know if you heard the drink. He made the drink Crunk Ain't Dead to that same beat, but like, added a couple drinks. So it just shows you, like, I guess it might be categorized as crunk, I mean, according to him, but it just shows you like the staying power of that beat.
Right.
I'm saying, of course, Chicken Head, because like that's like looking back on it now, like. That's like one of the funniest hooks I've ever heard, bro. Like, cause I mean, it's fine. I didn't even think about it back then, but like, you know what I'm saying? Just the fact they're going bark, bark, chicken, like that had to be like a funny ass session, bro. Like,
yeah, I know, ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying? It just like takes me back. It's like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know about you. I had never heard of the chat up to that point.
Me neither.
I mean, so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? One of my friends, she got mad because I thought that was Gangsta Boo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, cause I'm saying, she was like, how could you think that was Gangsta Boo? I was like, you know what I'm saying? Cause at that time I heard this rumor, like, cause you know, the chat, she was a heavy set or whatever.
Yeah, she definitely
So I heard
was.
like, you know, Gangsta Boo had put on some weight. You know what I'm saying? We hadn't seen her at the time. So I'm thinking, I guess I put two and two together and made five at this point because I was wrong. But like, I thought that was Gangsta Boo. So like, you know what I'm saying? Didn't realize that. But like, yeah, I mean, of course, Chicken Head, don't save her just because I just feel like there's a public service announcement against simping, which I'm highly against.
Absolutely.
I could say the name of a Super Saiyan simp, but I ain't gonna go there. That'd be a whole different podcast. But
right, exactly.
So Break the Law 2001, because again, back to my point about hitting on the speakers.
Yeah,
especially like a nice system. That joint would like rattle brain cells, bro. Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's gonna definitely know if your system was trash.
Oh yeah,
right, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Other joint, Ooh Nothing, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like a strip club joint, but the beat was just banging too. Life We Live, I'm saying Ski Mask. The joint We Can Get Gangsta So Hot. I mean, it's just so many, bro. Like,
I was about to say, nigga, you haven't skipped the song.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
yeah.
Well, no, it's a couple I didn't name. It's a couple I did, but but yeah, I don't know if I really got any lowlights on there, but like I guess like those be my go-tos, like depending on like, you know what I'm saying, the mood of the day or whatever like that. So yeah, I guess that'd be it for me as far as like, you know what I'm saying, like drinks I was feeling or possibly not feeling, but that'd be it. True.
Damo, what about you?
Hey man, Jay didn't save none. But you know, I basically would say the same things, but you know, of course the skit out there, part 2, where they talking right there.
See, that saved you one.
You got 5 hydro green. She went to jail, boosted all them bad checks, man. Fuck her. I was like, yo. I can think about it back then. I wouldn't have understood what the fuck they was saying
talking,
until
right.
I got down south and was around a lot of them niggas who talk like that.
Yeah.
So me being around them niggas, I was like, I understood everything what the fuck they were saying. I'll be dying laughing.
Right, exactly. Funny as hell.
But I would say back then, back in 2001, I would have said the whole album was a low life.
Yeah.
But then, you know, 03, you know, driving around my boy in his caddy or whatever. Shit, we ain't skip a song.
Right.
Shit, sometimes you click the joint back when you about to pull up. Oh, go ahead, hit the. Y'all niggas ain't no killers when we pull up.
Yeah.
You know, so, oh yeah, all right, yeah, we could go in now.
Yeah.
Because we was down there, Club 69, Roy Jones Club, and they used to be wild in it.
Wow. Yeah, the stuff in this album is definitely some getting ready to go to the club. If you're going to the club back then, this was a perfect soundtrack if you was getting ready to go party. Getting ready to go to the party and going to party, riding around, looking for that part, like my man was saying. My highlights, like I said, when I listened to this joint again, I hadn't listened to it in a while, and I didn't skip anything. Like I didn't skip, and there wasn't a track on here that I skipped, but. My highlights though. Definitely love Cheese and Dope because that was another dope beat. Don't Savor, obviously, because it's just a funny ass song, and it is, like you said, a anti-simp, anti-gump ass nigga anthem.
Much needed.
Yeah. If you ain't from my hood, you right, man. The one thing that I love about those beat switches, Jay, it's like when them beat switches come, it's just like, ooh, hold up. Did the beat just change? Like what? Hold the fuck up.
Man, especially you don't see if you smacked. I'm gonna take it back to that lingo back. If you smacked, man,
you smack, yes.
Man,
that joint, yeah. That joint will that joint will take you high from a 10 up to a 15. Like Gorilla Pimp. My goodness, like the song is great, but then the hook that hook by Namon Lumpkin. Yeah. I sat there and rewound that joint when I was listening to it earlier. I said, hold up, what did he say? I was like, whoa. Soulful ass hook too, and it wasn't like no nigga singing. Like the nigga could sing, dog, and he made the shit work. I love Gorilla Pimp. We Can Get Gangsta, obviously, is one of the best stories that he told throughout this whole album, though. Like, the whole tale. Like, I'm sitting there listening and following this whole storyline going through We Can Get Gangsta. Life We Live, which is, again, with naming Lumpkin as well. That was another cool joint. Y'all niggas ain't no killers. Y'all niggas some hoes. I love the fact that the way that beat switches on the sample that they used on that as well. That was a sample that was, I believe, from the Ohio Players. It was Good Luck Charm, which is also the same sample that was used in Nas's Last Days. So it was something I was familiar with because I was like, hold on, I've heard that sample before, those voices in the background. Just another great thing with DJ Paul and Juicy J with their production. They're good at taking these little intricate parts of beats and samples and songs that they've heard before and then putting them into a song. And you're like, hold up, where'd that come from? Ooh, Nothing, obviously, that's a strip club joint. The North joint is just, that's crazy. That's another anthem right there. My memories from this is obviously one being in the car riding. I used to always remember blasting this joint, and of course your system was great. It had come through great on the system. Another thing that I remember about this is there was this YouTube video of this dad who was doing the dad wake up challenge where he woke his kids up blasting this joint, going into his kids' room trying to wake them up at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, that's the type of dad that I probably would be. That would be me getting my kids up in the morning. The Fucking With the Best, though, is just a great way to close out the album because it has everybody Hypnotize Minds pretty much spitting on that joint, ending it with a joint with T-Rock, man. So, yeah, it's this joint. I mean, the production on here, like you said, Damo, if you had a trash system, we could tell. This would reveal all the flaws in your system if you decide to play this joint at full volume. But if you had a good system, yeah, you could shake some walls in this joint and rattle up your trunk because, man, props to DJ Paul and the Juicy J once again. Great work. I mean, awesome work. So now we're going to see if we're about notable quotables and see if y'all got any. Jay, you got one? What do you have a notable quotable for us?
I guess like my joint would be on Gorilla Pimp, like because it was just like it was the second verse. He was like, talking smart to a pimp, you done broke the first rule. I'ma come to your job, I'ma act a damn fool. When your boss walk in, I'ma play it off cool. If he stepping in our beds, I'ma slap his ass too.
God damn it.
Damn, right, exactly.
Yeah. It was just funny to me because like you just start like the kind of like unpack it and it's like, yeah, okay, you know what I'm saying? You know, a trick can't talk smart to a pimp, whatever. That's a no. But then the fact that the hoe is still working a job, he about to come up there and like, you know what I'm saying, raise hell and then smack her boss and all like that. It's just like, it's just funny when you break it down and think about it even more. So like,
yeah.
That's
yeah, it is. It's funny as hell. It's an apt title for the song Gorilla Pimp because it's like you got to be a pimp ass nigga to if your hoe still working at a job, go up there and raise hell, and if her boss start acting up, then you gonna slap his ass too. Like you a pimp to him too or something. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
Both of them on the stroll.
Yeah, exactly. That's wow. And Damo, what about you?
Don't save her.
Oh, okay.
Crunchy Black. I even hit you with the pack. Country Black. Ain't nothing going on but the money and power. Got one in the chamber for you trick ass cowards. And I'm tired of you niggas going to say these bitches. Stop saving these hoes. Let another nigga get them. I said, this nigga Crunchy stupid. I ain't trying to be a trick. I'm just saying my dog. Let a nigga get deep down in them draws. I said, yo, for real, because I knew too many niggas that was saving them back then.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear this show, it takes me back to with the shit I saw. Like, yo, for real?
Yeah.
Like, damn, y'all raised the pussy rate up.
Yeah, exactly. Raise that joint up exponentially to the point where niggas couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
And then, you know, I got a joint from Project Pat.
Okay.
You know, if you ain't from my hood.
Okay.
And it's the second verse. Still out to get paid down for Lucha Libre. Fuck all that bullshit. And she say, those who oppose me should get no leeway. Lying on real niggas end up in gunplay. I said, God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, that second verse definitely was something serious, though, especially when the beat switched up. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I was just about to say.
Yeah. When that beat switched up and he switched his flow up. Yeah. Catch a bird of charge, I don't think so, my nigga.
I was locked up 201 wearing Bobos, playing dominoes, shooting dice, big afro.
Yes, yeah, that joint, man, that might be the standout track of the album, for real, yeah, it might be. My notable quotable was from We Can Get Gangster, and, you know, he was talking about just this story. I got a call from my dog, Gangsta Fred, just the other day. Met some nigga from the other way, want to purchase yay. Said they want to get some good shit for the low. Fred grew up with this nigga by the bio. Could be the po-po. That's the way my mind think. Thought about that shit for a minute, then I took a drink. Thinking of a come up, knowing I ain't gonna fall. Called up my cousin Poncho, let him rob us all. Then he balled off with the goods on the rendezvous. Spot headed Fred back his dope, then we split the loot. Rudy Pooh's always getting got, something serious. Infatuated with the game, very curious. That'll kill the cat, cause the game ain't to be told. Quit smoking crack, my nigga, it's to be sold. Getting old never worries me, I don't give a fuck. Let them poles stay on my mind, call that nigga up. Yeah, I mean, another thing about all these lyrics and stuff that he said is like, we always talk about something you can tell when niggas are rapping things and they don't necessarily live it. Like Pat done did a couple of bids for stuff.
Yeah. Every time his album was coming out, this nigga was in jail.
Exactly. So you know Pat is probably living a lot of the shit that he was saying, if not all of it. I mean,
you
all of this.
You always feel it more when you know they living it.
When you know they living it, exactly. And because the nigga was doing time and he was doing shit out there, you knew it gave credence to whatever the hell he was saying. So yeah, man. These lyrics, the bar, like you said, it's not no. That's what my man Tony, aka Enter the Dome, on on Twitter says. It's not no lyrical, miracle, metaphysical shit. This is like some, but it's still bars though, because it ain't. It's still some rapping ass shit, like some shit you can really like feel because the dude has lived it, and the beats just back everything up. Guys, now we get to the end, man. The test of time to see what do we call it. Is it a certified classic? It is a borderline classic. Is it a classic just in its time or not a classic at all? And I'll start with you, Damo. What say you?
Certified classic. You know what I'm saying? Like you said it. You said you ain't skip no one song.
Yeah.
And it ain't too many albums out there where you could say that you don't skip one song. You know what I'm saying? And this is 20 songs on here. So, you know, and back then, you know, you smoking. So it's a whole rack. It's a vibe. It's the beat. It's everything. So to me, you know, it's a certified classic.
Jay, what about you?
So I'm have to echo the same sentiment. Certified classic. I mean, for those same reasons. Plus, I mean, along with that, like, I think it's for 20 years. It's aged pretty well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would even hold up. You know, like today's standards, just like music, and even with the state of down south music, it's like, you know, what's out is out now, but it's like when something like this comes along, you know, it reigns supreme over that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Certified classic.
Yeah, man. Make that a sweep across the board. Certified classic. The way that my opinion has changed on this type of music in 20 years and on this type of music and on this album has changed so much. It's probably changed more than any album that we've done on this podcast since then. It's not a single skip. I didn't even think, like, going into this, I was like, yo, I'm going to there's going to be something on here that I don't like, so I'm going to have to end up skipping something. And that's pretty much the end of it. But it wasn't. I mean, everything on here is just goodness. It's crazy. Great beats, the lyrics and the stories and everything on here. Yeah, it was something that when you getting fucked up and when you smoke, it sounds good, but you could listen to this shit sober now. And I'm like, yo, 20 years later, still a classic album, not a single skip. Quality level, there's not a drop off that exists throughout this entire album. Not even the skits are out of place. Everything is well placed in this. So, certified classic for me as well. So there it is, kids. Project Pat, Mista Don't Play, 20 years ago. Make sure y'all go check it out and listen to the rest of the Hypnotize Minds catalog as well, man. Get into this music. This is what the old South used to sound like, and this is what I wished we had a little bit more of, but times change, and because we don't have it anymore, it doesn't mean you can't go back and listen to what the great music we had before, man. So make sure y'all definitely go check out Mista Don't Play.
Praise your boy. Lil White.
Lil White. Lord Infamous.
I fucked with Frazier Boy. I thought Frazier Boy was going to be up next.
Yeah, man. I thought a lot of us thought he was too, man. There was a lot. They were putting music out during that time, man. Lord Infamous,
Frazier. T-Rock too, man.
Yeah, oh man, I love T-Rock, man. I thought he was really going to be the nigga that was going to be next coming up, and because he used to spit, he used to put some heaters out when he was on that Hypnotize Mind stuff. But
Lil White did too.
Yeah, and Lil White did too.
Yeah, I thought Lil White was going to blow too, and Mac Miller came years later. I was like, dang, it seemed like this was Lil White. I thought this how Lil White was going to be.
Yeah. Nah, it's. They definitely, as a clique, put out some music and put out some bangers throughout the years. And during those times when we were at Morgan, it was like, yo, you was looking for that stuff to come out. And before I end the podcast, I do have to give a shout out to my boy 29 or Deuce 9. He is actually backyard band sound man, the sound engineer, puts out some great sound. He's the one that helped to put me on the Project Pat 3-6, man. So B, Deuce 9, hey, look, appreciate you, man, for putting me onto this shit, because, yo, I appreciate you opening my eyes and my ears to this, man, for real. Definitely put me on. And that is going to wrap up yet another edition of The Vault. Please make sure you check us out on our new host on Red Circle. You can also download, stream, and subscribe to The Vault Classic Music Reviews on any one of our streaming sources. If you go to the bio on any one of our social media pages, you can get to our link tree, which has all of our streaming sources and also all of our social media pages. You can get to The Vault on Instagram on @VaultCMR Podcast, on Twitter @Vault Classic, and on Facebook and YouTube by searching the Vault Classic Music Reviews Podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, interact with us on social media. We do it here all for you. We appreciate the support, and if you have a friend, tell a friend, and make sure that that friend tells a friend. Always remember to keep your headphones on and your music loud, but not too loud. And as we close, we'd like to remind everyone to dream big, because dreams are the basis for creation. Always create, motivate, and elevate, because you were never destined or created to stay stationary in this life. And on that note, we say peace.
Thank you for listening and coming into The Vault. Please subscribe and follow us on Facebook at IV Creative and Instagram at IVECRE8.